Hey everybody, Ethan here from WordTech, back with another video, and this one is actually kind of like just a follow-up mini video to a much longer one that I made and posted recently, or maybe I'm posting this one before. I'm actually not sure what order I'm putting them in yet. This is kind of at the tail end of a video that I did about setting up site-to-site IPsec tunnels with a Ubiquiti Dream Machine Pro, a Ubiquiti Unifi Dream Machine Pro, in a lab context where normally you can't do that because you aren't able to bind IPsec to LAN interfaces. So I was able to do a little bit of trickery to make it work through a WAN interface, but actually running on the LAN in order to get some performance testing in place. If you want to see that video of how I set that up and what I did to kind of trick it into being able to do that, you can go watch that, or when it comes out, or if it already came out. Like I said, I'm not sure what order these are going in because this video is going to be a lot quicker to edit, so I might just get this one out and then do the full-length one after the fact. But what this video is going to be about is basically just showing you some iPerf 3 testing between my local workstation and a Ubuntu VM that I have, which you can see is up behind here, running across a VPN. Now, this VPN is running from a Ubiquiti Unifi Dream Machine Pro, and it's an IPsec VPN with AES 256, SHA-512, and DH Group 21. So very strict security standards. You probably could push the performance a little further if you drop to like AES 128. I usually use AES 256, so that's what I'm going to be doing my testing with here. And the settings are obviously the same on pfSense. Now, the pfSense side is a pfSense Community Edition. I think I'm on not quite the latest version, but pretty recent as of July 7th, 2026. And the pfSense VM is running as a virtual machine. It's configured with 12 cores from a Threadripper 1950X and 8 gigs of RAM, so it's rather beefy. It's not being pushed all the way when doing this performance testing, and I'll show you what it looks like with HTOP on the Dream Machine Pro so you can see the Dream Machine Pro CPU usage when doing these performance validation. And my results kind of line up with what pretty close line up with what I've seen online for some other people doing testing with the Dream Machine Pro. I think other relevant information is this Dream Machine Pro is actually handling a rather large network right now. So this is very real world iPerf performance that you would see from a device that's already under a bit of a load. It's not moving gigabits of traffic around right now or anything, but there's hundreds of devices behind it. It's managing stuff. There is some IDS and IPS enabled, not on the subnets that we're doing this testing on, so that's not going to be interfering with any of this stuff. But I just figured it's worth noting. So the performance might be lower than a direct lab environment where this is set up to just be, the device doing nothing but IPsec. So the Ubuntu VM is configured. I think I have it with only 4 gigs of RAM, but I have pushed this Ubuntu VM with iPerf 3 to 10 gig before, or like 9.3 gig, something like that before. So I know it can do a lot more, especially when doing multi-stream. It's the same VM I've used for some other testing that I did. So I know for a fact that it's like we're bottlenecked at this point by the Dream Machine Pro, which is what I expected to see here because pfSense has better acceleration in place for IPsec, especially if you're using like GCM, Gallios Counter Mode, and stuff like that, AES GCM. But even a default Community Edition install, its IPsec performance is generally going to be better. And of course, it does have a lot more, cores and RAM behind it than the Dream Machine does, while it is doing literally nothing but running the VPN. So it's kind of in a best case scenario, whereas the Dream Machine is kind of in a real world scenario. Now, this testing again is with iPerf 3, so that's going to be 1500 byte packets roughly, and we're looking at best case scenario performance, not real world like randomized traffic. And I'm working on building a traffic generator. I'm going to make a video about that in the future, probably using Cisco's T-Rex, but I don't know how far away that is yet. I also don't know if the hardware I have is capable of generating as much traffic as I want to generate. I'm certain it could do this. So just take all of that with what it is. We're doing iPerf testing here. I hope to get more accurate numbers in the future, especially with newer firewalls and stuff doing like iMix testing basically. So what we have is the Ubuntu VM is just listening on the standard port. We have a firewall rule that allows the traffic to run across both the Dream Machine, and then over on pfSense, we allow the IPsec traffic to run to the LAN. The Ubuntu VM is sitting behind a LAN on pfSense, and it is also running as a VM on the same hypervisor, so we're not running through like another network loop. It's the same hypervisor host, so everything is running through Open vSwitch, which is what XCP-ng uses in the background, so we're reducing some latency and stuff there, not going through yet another hop, or another layer 2 hop, so to speak. So I first was just going to do this, and I'm just going to test it with single stream so you can see what that looks like. So this is again from my local workstation, which while it is recording, this is a 10 gig machine. It's a 7950X 3D, 128 gigs of RAM. So there's no slouch. It can definitely do a lot more than this during recording. So if we do one stream, we can get a little bit of a rundown here, and I'll show HTOP in a minute so you can see a little better. We're getting like 200 or so megabits single stream. Not surprised to see single stream. I don't know what happened with my PowerShell there. I did a weird thing. I don't know. Maybe you guys didn't even see that. I might have cut that out. But anyway, so when we're doing the receiving side, which is notably a little bit slower, we're getting like 150 megabits a second. And so what I'm going to do now is we're going to bump the streams to 8. And again, this is going to be sending outbound instead of receiving. So we're getting about 350 megabits. And that's going to fluctuate a little based on what we're seeing from the Dream Machine. Don't worry, I'll show HTOP here in a couple of moments. So pretty decent performance, but definitely not, as high class as you might want from a 10 gig firewall right now. That's not really a knock on Ubiquiti. It's more just that, yeah, its IPsec performance leaves a lot on the table compared to similar class devices, but not really to similar price devices unless you're custom building your firewall. So now if we can also do the opposite direction with 8 streams, and we'll be limited to a little bit slower. I'm not 100% sure why the receive side is slower. That's something for me to look into. There's something that's bottlenecking that further. I know I've done back and forth testing with the same VM in my same workstation and gotten 9 gigabit in both directions. So I know both VMs are capable of handling it. So I'm not 100% sure what's causing that there. So leave me a comment if you think maybe pfSense is a bit of a limiter on that portion, but regardless, so what I'm going to do here is we're going to set it to let's just do 16 streams. Why not? We'll do more here. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to set it to T, and we're going to just let it run for a very, very long time. So that's why I set it to T600. So it's just going to run for an extended period of time, and we can go over to where I have HTOP running, and you can see the Dream Machine is working really, really hard here. We've got one thread almost maxed out. Now, I have not seen this in any testing that I've done. I have not seen this in a situation where it actually hits 100% on all cores, even multi-stream for IPsec. It will for inter-VLAN and LAN to WAN routing, so I don't know exactly what is causing that. You might blame me and say it's pfSense being the bottleneck or something, but I don't think that's the case here. I think that there's just some prioritization happening here, which is probably a good thing. You don't want the rest of the network to fall flat just because IPsec is taking up all of the resources. So if I go over to pfSense here, I can show you the CPU usage on it and why I don't think it's a bottleneck. So first off, we've got some cores that are pegged, but not all of them, and we're using enough streams that it should be able to use all cores. But also the pfSense GUI is very responsive. When pfSense is maxed out, I've done enough testing, the GUI will be less responsive, not unusable usually, but less responsive. And you can see the CPU usage is sitting around 34%. And this only has 2 gigs of RAM, but it's not doing anything special. So I don't think pfSense is the bottleneck here because, again, we are seeing much, much higher levels of CPU usage over on the Dream Machine, which is no surprise given that it has less cores and is also doing a lot of other stuff right now. So anyway, that pretty much covers it. I just thought it was worth showing the performance of it. Now, this stays consistent even if I run this for 10 minutes constantly, so that's nice. And this is definitely like good enough performance for most site-to-site VPNs if you're just using it for some basic SMB sharing, or you're using it for Active Directory on-prem or something like that, right? Like this is going to be plenty for DNS traffic if you're routing that over a tunnel or whatever, management, RDP, whatever you need to do, this is going to be plenty. But if you're in an environment where you need really high performance VPNs, which I have had to deal with before, then Ubiquiti is kind of a no-go at least until we see performance testing from the enterprise firewall core. We'll have to see what the IPsec performance of that is like, as well as like what the WireGuard performance of that is like. And I'm hoping to get in a Unifi Dream Machine Beast here at some point. I haven't decided when I'm going to go out and purchase that, but I'm already kind of pushing the Dream Machine to its absolute limits on a lot of fronts. So the Dream Machine Pro, so I might get the Beast as a replacement for it. And if that happens, I will definitely do more testing. And by that point in time, I will have a Netgate 6100 properly set up to do this testing between 2 physical firewalls. Virtual machines won't have to be involved, at least for the firewall for pfSense itself. I'll have proper acceleration and everything available on my Netgate 6100 that I run a lot of my network equipment off of. So that is something to come, but I just thought it was interesting to show this. It was something that I've been wanting to test for a long time. I've seen benchmarks online, but I'm like, I really want to test that performance myself, and I finally decided to just tinker enough last night to get that going, and here we are, and we're getting about 350, 300, depending on what it's doing. You can see it dropped a little here, but it stays pretty consistent over the run. I ran it for a long period of time. So anyway, no fancy graphs or anything. I just thought it was something that would be a little bit fun to talk about. So thank you everybody for watching, and leave a comment down below. And like I said, definitely watch out for the other video if it hasn't already come out, if you want to know more about what I did to make the Dream Machine work in this context, since you can't bind an IPsec tunnel to an internal interface, which again, I think is something Ubiquiti really should take the time to change. But anyway, thank you all again, and I will see you guys in the next one.